Oh, I'm in a pickle. I was taking my drawing monitor out for a walk, as one usually does, and before I even knew it—
What are you doing in the middle of the road? You're gonna get hurt!
there was not a single cloud in the sky when that happened. I don't even know how it happened, and now I can't even draw erotic fanfiction for my multi-million-dollar client. Frankly, I don't know what to do, but in great peril, I can always do one thing to ease my fears. Play on my DS. You always know what to do. Developed by Nintendo EAD Tokyo, the point of Flipnote Studio was to emulate the animation of Flipnotes, hence the name Flipnote Studio. It's a style that has you drawing every frame individually and flipping through it to show motion. It is a very simple idea when you put it on paper. However, this style of animation seemed to really only stick to paper. So Nintendo in 2008 decided, F it, we have this thing that looks like a book, let's just take this and throw it in there. Flipnote became a very popular animation tool. It was literally the most downloaded thing that was on the DSi. Other than porn. I mean, it's no secret as to why. You download this thinking it's some neat little drawing tool, you make one flip note and say, that's neat, and the next thing you know—
Guys, ignore the fact I haven't slept in 72 hours. Check out these flip notes I made.
You see, this is why I like this greedy company. They take something that might not be fun for everybody and just makes it fun for everyone. Flipnote is just simple to understand. You take your stylus and draw whatever your heart desires on the bottom screen. For me, it was my social security number. Using the D-pad, you can flip to other pages and draw different things. However, you generally wanted it to be similar to your previous drawing. This was an animation tool after all. I mean, shit, how else are you supposed to make identity theft more fun? The numbers aren't moving, therefore thieves are less likely to take my identity! You could flip back and forth between the pages just to do a bunch of guesswork, but doing that makes you realize why nobody loves you. Instead, if you press up on the D-pad, you're given a whole world of options to aid in animating whatever this is. You got your basic tools like pencil, paintbrush, and eraser, all of which you can change their size to maximize your artistic vision. You can play and even make your animation go from PowerPoint presentation to, oops, I drank too much coffee. But wait, that's not all. If you call in right now, we'll throw in a whole other page of goodies. Give me the goodies right now, Paul.
My name's Jeremy.
Here you can change the color of your pen across 3 different colors: black, red, and blue. When I was young, I had no idea that the blue color even existed. You can also change the paper color to black, and instead of a black marker, it becomes white. Finally, a way to accurately portray my sleep paralysis demon. Hey look, buddy, I drew you. If you turn on the light box, you can see the images on the pages before, making it easier to animate. There's also this copy feature, which lets you copy the image to the next page. However, I never really used this feature as a kid. It makes the flip notes feel more static and less lively. Sure, it can make the drawings more consistent, but a lot of the charm feels lost when you use it. But hey, that's just me. I've actually seen a lot of people use this setting when making flip notes, and if we're gonna be honest here, it's probably just the lack of talent I possess to make it look good. Flipnote can do more than just draw frames. You can add in your own audio to make the flip notes just a little bit more lively. And it doesn't even sound all too bad. Just listen. This is the stuff that made my childhood, man. You have a whole sound menu where you can play your flip notes and add sounds to them. But of course, this is the DSi's microphone, and if you ever used it, you kinda already know what you're getting.
Hey, did you get my thing that I asked you for?
Yeah, I'm working on it. However, when you get decent sound recordings, it really helps enhance the animation. You can add up to 3 sound effects, and you can play them at any time with the assigned buttons. Truly, if you know what you're doing, you can add a lot of depth to these flip notes. And when you got all the basics down, you get to unlock Flipnote's dirty little secret. In the settings menu, you have the option to enable advanced tools, and this gives you a 3rd whole page! It's just a page of tools that lets you select and move stuff around. I barely know how to use it, but I think there's someone smarter than me that can figure it out.
Sir, can you tell me about the advanced tools in Flipnote Studio?
You can also use layers now, making the 2 different colors exist in front or behind each other, making coloring and shading way more easier. This is something I hadn't discovered until coming back to Flipnote, and I will say, it opens up a whole lot of possibilities for making more flip notes. And when it was all done and you had the perfect creation, you can save your flip notes to the SD card and import them to your computer. You could upload it to the internet and share it with the world! Who am I kidding? This was 2009, and most people who were using this were children who didn't really have access to a computer. Nowadays, taking out the SD card and finding the right info on it is kind of second nature to anyone younger than 45. But back then, it was such a new concept that Nintendo actually had to implement their own way into sharing flip notes. I mean, half the reason why we create things is so we can show it to other people. Rule 34 wouldn't exist if that wasn't the case. So Nintendo, in their infinite wisdom, decided to partner with the web service provider Hatena to make Flipnote Hatena. The frog is now green, and it goes against everything I know! You can upload your monstrosities to the service for the whole world to see. I never really got to use this feature when I was young because my parents restricted access to the internet on all my game consoles. It was probably because of the most popular downloaded thing on the DS. Even without ever really using it, I know that this service was the place for many to meet and connect with other artists. I can only imagine how inspiring it must have been to go onto this thing and just see all the flip notes that other people were creating, to see how far they even pushed the software. It's honestly something I wish I could have experienced. However, Flipnote was such an impactful piece of software that I didn't need it to enjoy it. I still have all my flip notes from when I was a kid, and I would pass this around to my cousins and we'd all just make flip notes. However, this doesn't end at the DSi, because unless you're living under a rock, Nintendo did release... yeah, that thing. I mean, it does make sense. You take the most popular software from this thing and you put it onto this thing and all that's well that ends well. Yeah, Nintendo didn't do that. And look how stupid you look for believing that. However, they didn't just abandon Flipnote Studio. I mean, Nintendo isn't that stupid. Flipnote Studio 3D. Yes, this is legit. Here's me downloading it. And if you didn't know that this thing existed, well, we'll get into that later. Flipnote 3D is the successor to Flipnote, and that 3D in the title is more than just a simple tagline for the console, as you can make your Flipnotes actually in 3D. Well, this should be cool. Damn, I'm so underwhelmed right now. The idea of making animations in 3D is pretty neat, but in practice, it kind of falls flat. That's kind of ironic for a 3D device when you think about it. The way you can make your Flipnotes have more depth is by using these layers. It's not that unsimilar to most photo editing programs, but here, you can adjust how close or far the layer is, giving the illusion of depth. It's kind of neat, but also doesn't really enhance the flip notes themselves. It's kind of like your appendix. It's there, but you don't really need it. Plus, it can kill you. What are you even talking about? Oh shit, it has a knife! There's more than just the 3D. We have more options to pick from, like more colors, brush options, and quality of life improvements. It makes the act of animating a little less like a slow, painful process and more like a lightweight jog painful process. This is truly the definitive edition of Flipnote, because while the limitations of the original challenged the creator, the style and presentation hasn't really changed, so you could work within those limitations still. However, if you want to do more, you can, and the amount of possibilities are endless in this version. It's basically everything Flipnote had, but more added to it. Seriously, there's so much you can do on this thing, but if you're not into all the added features, you can still use it like normal Flipnote Studio. It's something I honestly would have loved as a kid, but nobody knew that it existed. Why? To put it in simple terms, Nintendo's fucking stupid. Imagine you have this thing, it's super popular amongst everybody, so you develop the sequel and decide to lock it behind the My Nintendo rewards. Sounds crazy, right? Like, why limit the reach of your super popular game to a niche crowd that barely uses the program to begin with? Well, that's what Nintendo did! I'm sorry, I can't hear you over the bullshit alarm! You can search up Flipnote Studio 3D in the eShop and you will get a compilation of samples from the software, but zero instructions on how to download it. Oh wait, there's this little tagline at the bottom saying it's only available to Club Nintendo members. Yep, that's explanatory. I totally know how to do it. 14-year-old me would have totally understood what that meant. I mean, I was pretty smart. I drank paint as a kid. There was no way I was figuring this out. And there was no way that other people were gonna figure this out because Flipnote 3D was never, ever advertised or shown off by Nintendo. They just dumped it and lost all hope for it right out of the gate. It didn't even come to America until 2 years after its release. Nintendo wanted this to die because shortly after the release of Flipnote Studio, Flipnote Hatena was shut down. God, would you look at that? The bullshit alarm ran out of batteries. I understand that Flipnote Hatena was never going to survive for the longest term, but for it to go down right after the release of a successor, and even for that successor to not have a suitable replacement, it's just being neglectful. Nintendo, you're a terrible father. The shutdown of Flipnote Hatena just destroyed the Flipnote community. While Flipnotes are uploaded to YouTube and still are to this day, it wasn't the same. CS Ghost has an amazing video that dives more deep into this, and if you want to know more, I would highly recommend watching that. I get extremely upset when I look at Flipnote's legacy as a whole. It's an amazing program that gave millions the chance to make art like never before. Its downfall and eventual death only really happened because of Nintendo. Nintendo killed this program. I remember being obsessed with this thing, seeing what other people could do and wanting to do the same. It was inspiring. It was a huge part of my life. I was making Flipnotes every day, and the older I got, the more I wanted another Flipnote Studio to come out. The Wii U would have been a perfect place for another Flipnote game because not only does it have the gamepad, which makes for a perfect drawing device, but you can also just have Miiverse be the place to share them. Hell, Colors Live proves that even the Switch could be the new home for Flipnote. Flipnote, but Nintendo would rather release games with omitted content because they have truly become hateful towards their player base.
It wouldn't even be that big of a deal if this idea didn't still have so much potential to it. You can take this small little idea and not only make it bigger, but make it better while still retaining the charm and style of it.
There are people who still use Flipnote to this day, and there are even acts to try to revive it. Flipnote Studio comes to mind. It's for PC, but I don't know, the charm and style of Flipnote Studio just isn't here. However, Pseudo Memo is a good place to share your Flipnotes, but there's a subscription service attached to it? There's just no replacing what Flipnote had. It was practically perfect, and Nintendo just let that go to waste. But I'm happy that there are efforts to try and revive the community, and even giving us new ways to make Flipnotes. I think it really shows the impact Flipnote Studio had on so many people.
It's just one of those things that, while it's so simple, meant so much to me. I have never forgotten about Flipnote Studio, and I will never forget about Flipnote Studio.
I, to this day, just like many others, keep on making Flipnotes, and I think it's simple as to why.
When flipping through life, you will see those small things lose their gravity. So when things get so complex, it's best to go back to simplistic. Why not try limitations to make a brand new creation? It doesn't matter what you use, this microphone is pretty cool. I don't mean to push at all, but aren't we making break the walls? I know life's got us by the throat, so let's just share all of our flip notes. More than what you say, it's more than a game, a new way to thrive and create a community gone. What the hell went wrong? You never kept it strong. So take it back and let them know this way of art will always grow. We won't forget where it came from. It's credited to an orange frog. I don't mean to push at all, but aren't we making break the walls? I know life's got us by the throat, so let's just share all of our flip notes.
And with that, I finished my commission. Time to get rich, baby!
Asked if I could buy Wii Fit off of you, not a bunch of crappy flip notes.
Oh, yeah, I don't own Wii Fit.
What?